Hey everybody, it's Old Chaplain V, back for another look at step number 11. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry it out. Well, this step covers a lot of territory. It talks about prayer and meditation. What's the definition of prayer? I think we probably all know prayer is lifting up our minds and our hearts to God. Sometimes we get stuck on just lifting up our minds to God, for the external appearances. We're warned about repeated prayers, canned prayers, learned prayers, especially to be seen rather than opening our hearts to God. We also learn a little bit about prayer, create a clean heart in me, O Lord. So sometimes we have things in our heart that, are really not of God's plan, Sometimes that evil, where our treasure is, there our heart will be. If our treasure is the things of the outside world and what the outside world has to offer, our motives are not going to be true and our motives are not going to be pure. That's why we're praying only for God's will for us. What's God's will for us? Well, to report for duty, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The carnal mind, the cravings of the flesh will always err on the side of, pleasure. The dopamine call, the pleasure drug that's within our mind. We're wired towards selfishness, self-centeredness. Our egos are huge. We want the likes, we have social media, we have the outside world coming after us, wanting our life, and the inside world is responding to that. And so that affects our heart, but we're called to be temples of God's Holy Spirit. But we can't be temples of God's Holy Spirit when we've got all this evil lurking in us. So, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lead us not into temptation means, boy, I don't really want to be tested, Lord, but, bring it on. Allow me to see this. And so the only way we're going to see the evil that's in our heart is we got to do a little desert time. Trust in the Lord with thy whole heart and not thy own understanding. To let go and let God is key. That's why the Israelites wanted to go back to Egypt. They had been Egyptianized. We are being Egyptianized. We worship the golden calf too until we have a spiritual awakening. I was convicted of selfishness with my spiritual awakening. That was the grace that I received. Well, listen, another long short. So thank you for watching, everybody.